What's up, YouTube? This is your boy Thomas back again with another rendition of Truth Be Told. So this week I got a few things to talk about. Not so much like huge news or whatever, but more newer releases pretty much. First thing I want to talk about is the new movie Mulan that Disney Plus put out. I just watched it this last week, and I'm telling you now, you don't need to bother. It's really not very good at all. They went way off on this. They didn't even tell the actual real story. They put a bunch of crap in there and they should not have been in there at all. But they didn't even Disneyfy it, actually. I mean, they kind of did, but not really. Spoiler alert. They had this thing where she's seeing this supposed phoenix from time to time, like a real phoenix, you know, that was supposedly guiding her or whatever, which was dumb. Yeah, I guess that's supposed to be the replacement for the dragon in the cartoon, but anyways, I don't know. A lot of it just shouldn't have been in the movie because it was literally going way off of what the original story or the true story was, because most of it didn't have anything to do with the true story. So to me it was just kind of boring. It was just you know, wasn't really good at all. And I highly do not recommend this movie. I give it 2 thumbs down. It was just really bad. Moving on. The next movie I want to talk about is a new release. It's called Tenet. It's supposed to be this sci-fi action flick. And I'm going to tell you right now, it had like this much action in it. I almost fell asleep. Honestly, it was so drawn out and boring. I mean, you went from one scene to the next where they're just talking philosophically about time and how to manipulate it. It was, I don't know, it was really strange. And basically the guy was looking around for like these weapons and who was selling these weapons that had this kind of like bizarre chemical mark or some crap like that, because you can manipulate them a certain way if you had the ability to know that they're from the future, and that people in the past can like manipulate them and make them seem like they can bring them through time and stuff. I don't know. It was really weird. It was strange. And like I said, there was hardly any action in it whatsoever. It was just a really boring and dull movie. I definitely highly do not recommend it. The only reason why it's got some box office money is literally because it's one of the very first movies to be released back into the theaters. So a bunch of people are going to go see it because of that. That's the only reason it's got some money at the box office. Otherwise, like I said, I highly do not recommend this movie if you want to be bored out of your damn skull. 2 thumbs down on the Tenet. Not a good movie. The last thing I want to talk about I'm going to have a little section from now on where I give you a dating tip for the week. I was asked about several things due to me being single and certain sites and stuff like that. The first thing I recommend as far as dating tips go, avoid any of the so-called mail order bride sites, like the Russian and Asian mail order bride sites. Almost 95% of these are literally made to empty your pockets. All they're going to do is take your money. You will be lucky if you meet any of the women on these sites, because 99% of these women are models. They've literally been busted. Several of these sites have been busted. Their people are on the computers sending these fake emails or messages or chats or whatever. It's not the women that's doing it. They want to charge you like $5 to $10 a pop for an email or a message, which is ridiculous. And the reason they do that is because they need to generate a lot of money really quick. Because 90% of the users probably are not going to stick around for that. The other thing is you got to be a real idiot if you actually think that these extremely gorgeous women are actually interested in most of you. To begin with, like I said, it's all fake. It's not real. You can watch plenty of videos on where men have been duped many times by these types of sites, like Charm Date, Anastasia Date, AsianBeauties.com, that kind of sites. Anything affiliated with them, avoid. Same thing goes with the number one site I'm fixing to talk about. It's called love.com or foreignaffairs.com. Avoid this site at all costs. It is literally fake as hell. Yeah, they got videos that shows, oh well, you could spend like thousands upon thousands of dollars and we'll take you to these different countries and have you go on a tour and meet these women and blah 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 blah. Men have literally come out and said that have done this, that when they go on these tours for thousands of dollars, they do not even get to meet the women that they supposedly were talking to or chatting with online. They don't allow them to meet them. Something comes up and they can't see that type of woman or woman or whatever, so they got to meet these other models or whatever. It's retarded. You're wasting your money. Don't do it. It's all a scam to get your money. So that's my big advice as far as dating tips go. That's my tip for the week. Don't do mail order bride stuff, because it's all bullshit. Alright, that's the end of that. That's all the news I got for you this week. Let's move on to your B-rated movie reviews. Alright, movie holics, let's get on to your B-movie rated reviews. This week is Horror Week. this week we are going with a couple of creature features. Uh, First one we're going to talk about is pretty much a big werewolf classic film. It was kind of around the same time as Werewolf in London, which I haven't done yet. I'll eventually get around to doing that one. It's just everybody knows that one. That's the all-time big one right there, is Werewolf in London. I'll eventually get around to it. But this one came around about the same time and became almost as popular. Not quite, but almost. Is a movie done by Joe Dante, which Joe Dante is kind of a student of Roger Corman. So, you know, about the time Werewolf in London came out, he did this kind of like that to cash in on the popularity of the werewolf film. This movie is called The Howling. It was done in 1981. It made about 18 mil, which wasn't too shabby back then. It did okay. It starred Dee Wallace, Patrick McNee, and just for kicks, I noticed that Robert Picardo was in this, and everyone should know by now who Robert Picardo is. He's done lots of films, but he's only usually done bit parts. He's the Doctor from Star Trek Voyager. He's also the guy you always love to hate at first on Stargate, and then you kind of get to liking his character in Stargate Atlantis when he takes over as the leader. He's a great actor. However, in this, he doesn't have a huge part. He usually didn't play like huge parts throughout the 80s films. And this one he plays, you know, some guy named Eddie or whatever, who's just part of the group. Anyways, in the film, the story basically is this woman gets traumatized because she's this reporter who kind of sets up this meet with the so-called serial killer Eddie, Robert Ricardo. Anyway, her meeting, she gets traumatized at the very beginning. She don't remember exactly what happens in the meeting, except for he gets killed. Some crazed gun-toting officer goes in there and shoots him. At a porn shop, no less. You know, they had these little porn booths where you watch movies in these little porn booths, and that's where he got shot. That's where she was meeting him. I know, crazy. Anyways, there's kind of like two stories going on. First is there's a doctor who's trying to help her, and he tells her and her husband to come to this island that he lives on, where he has this group he calls the Colony, where he supposedly tries to help a group, some people with mental issues, you know, having problems, psychological problems, kind of like a retreat or whatever. So her and her husband go there, and they start seeing all kinds of strange and hearing weird, strange stuff going on. The second part of the story is actually her two friends who are like reporters as well. They're a couple. They're investigating, you know, the whole Eddie serial killer thing, and come to find out, Eddie's body ends up missing, and they find all these clues that something's going on, and they're looking up werewolf stories, and uh, they start catching on to what's actually going on. So they head, or one of them heads to the female. She heads to the retreat to warn uh, Dee Wallace's character, which Dee Wallace's character finds out that something's really going on. She don't know, but it's freaking her out. She wants off the island. Her friend shows up, and she figures out that this group is not what it seems to be. Well, before she can actually tell Dee Wallace what's going on, Eddie ends up killing her. He transforms and kills her. Then Dee Wallace finds out that they're all werewolves, including her husband. Her husband's now been turned as well. The other reporter, the guy, he finally shows up with like some silver bullets and kills a bunch of them, and gets them trapped in a barn and burns a bunch of them. And then they escape. But a few of them get out, and they nearly kill them, but they make it back into town. Well, sad part is at the very end, they decide to go live on air, and Dee Wallace's character, she decides to show the world that werewolves exist and that they're out there, and she transforms on air, and then her reporter friend, the guy, he shoots her with a silver bullet and ends it. And that's pretty much the end of the movie, except for it leaves off letting you know that one of the werewolves that escaped, it shows her at like a bar and grill or whatever at the very end. This movie is kind of known for the ending because it's rolling credits. Literally the whole time you're watching this burger being cooked on a grill. But yeah, that's the end of the movie. So you know there's a sequel. In fact, there's several sequels to this. As far as special effects go, they tried really hard to copy what was going on with American Werewolf in London as far as special effects go, the transformation. They tried to do it too. They actually didn't do half bad for back then. It was alright. It wasn't bad, actually. I definitely give them a solid 4 on the effort, because it was really good. But they tried the way they did it. The second thing, as far as the acting goes, the acting wasn't really bad at all. You had some decent actors in it, so it made the story move along very smoothly. I mean, you really had some decent actors, so the acting wasn't bad. I definitely give it a 3. It was definitely solid, decent. And then, last but not least, the story. The story, for a werewolf story for back then, it was interesting. It wasn't like the greatest thing, but it wasn't bad. It was alright, and you got the reason what was going on. So I give the story a good 3. It was definitely a decent story. So overall, this movie, for being a werewolf movie, I'm not a real big fan of werewolf movies, but for this one being a werewolf movie, I definitely give it I give it a 4. It was actually really good, to be honest. It was slow in parts, but that's just for the overall story. So I definitely give it a 4 overall. 2 thumbs up. Check out The Howling. It's a good movie. Alright, moving on. The next one we're going to talk about is another old creature feature from the 70s. It's actually a story by H.G. Wells. It's called The Food of the Gods. It was done in 1976. I couldn't find a box office number for it. It starred Mario Gortner and Pamela Franklin. Hopefully I got his name right. It's a weird name, but anyways, this story is basically, I don't know, some friends go on this island or whatever to do a little bit of hunting or whatever. Kind of get away from, like, they're all on a football team or something. They all get away on this island to do, I guess, hunting, basically. Anyways, one of the friends get killed by some giant wasp, mutated wasp, and they know something's going on. They don't know what's going on, but Mario Gortner, his character, he goes back to find out what's going on. Him and his buddy, they get on the island, and he sees an old woman. Before he comes back, he saw an old woman and her giant chickens that attacked him, and then she tells him that he sees some jars full of this white crap that she claims they mixed with the feed, and it made the farm animals grow really big. And he says, "Man, are you crazy?" Apparently, though, there's some rats that have gotten into it, and apparently they're starting to get bigger. Anyways, her husband is trying to sell it and market it so they can make a lot of money. And there's a buyer and I think a reporter or whatever. There's a couple of reporters that come on the island. Anyways, they all get held up in this farmhouse. They get attacked by all kinds of large animals. But the biggest ones are the rats. The rats give them a really hard time. A couple of them eventually escape, including Major or whatever his name is. His character. They get out of there. And there's a big flood, so most of the stuff, the food for the gods, crap, it's gone. However, at the very end, you see some cows drinking some of the water that had the stuff in it, and then the milk's processed, and at the very end, you see some kids out of school drinking the milk, and that's the end of the movie. This was a very cheesy and campy movie. You can definitely tell it was a bunch of props and crap. The special effects weren't really, it wasn't spectacular at all. It was pretty bad. So let's start with the first thing. The acting. The acting, it was alright. You had some fairly decent acting, I guess. Well, you know, I give it, the acting was decent, so I give it a 3. It was okay. Wasn't like special or anything. The next thing is the special effects. The special effects, I definitely give the special effects a 1 on this. I mean, it was pretty lame. It was bad. You know, you had where they tried to like blur the some insects or whatever, make them look like they're really big, and you definitely tell that the rats were on top of a small little house instead of an actual house, that kind of thing. And then you have props being slammed at some of the actors, making it look like they were really big. So it was really bad on the special effects. The story wasn't bad. It's H.G. Wells. They just, I don't know. they weren't able to pull it off all that well. So story-wise, the story was fairly decent. I actually liked the story. So I definitely give it a solid 3. So overall, the movie is maybe a 3. I mean, it was cheesy and campy. It was fun, but it wasn't like super great. Unless you're really a hardcore sci-fi or horror fan, you probably would not want to watch this movie. So I give it a thumbs up and a thumbs down. It was good, but at the same time, I like cheesy and campy, and some people do, some people don't. So that's why I'm giving it like a solid 3. It was okay. It was okay. Wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great either. Okay, that's all I have for you this week. Tune in next time where I do a couple action flicks next week. If you have any suggestions of any, maybe some gems, movie classics I might have missed, I have never seen, leave them down in the comments section down below, and I'll try to get to reviewing them as soon as I can. If you have any thoughts on anything I mentioned earlier in this video, again, leave them down in the comment section down below. I'm just your average Joe, average American, who's giving you facts and my opinions on these movies. Anyways, that's all I have for you. Tune in next time. Till then, I told you you'd be told the truth, and you've just been told.